Good morning, everyone. We're here this morning to mark Undoing Racism Day, to undo racism, to come together in unity, and to embrace the difference. So welcome to the 2012 Community Breakfast of the Main Line. I'm Ann Minicozy. I'm one of the people on the steering committee of the Community Breakfast, and I'm just very glad to see all of you here. We have representatives from government, from educational institutions, from civic organizations, from many houses of worship, and from business. Instead of reading a long list of the very many distinguished people who are here this morning, you'll see on your name tags, it has everyone's affiliation, whatever you wrote down, and we wanted to do that to encourage conversation. And then we also listed in the program all of the organizations who are in the steering committee and all of the friends of the Community Breakfast who helped spread the word about the breakfast. So just in an effort to save some time, but to let you know how many different organizations are involved with this breakfast. We're grateful for the attendance of all of you. The goal of this breakfast this year was to broaden the reach of the breakfast. So we're really pleased with the number of people from many different organizations who are here. The second goal of the breakfast this year was to increase the choir participation. The Unity Choir has sung in years past and has been mainly comprised of members of the Bethel AME Church in Bryn Mawr, and we still have them as the core of the Unity Choir. But this year, the Bethel AME Church choir members are joined by members from Central Baptist Church, Mainline Unitarian Church, Zion Baptist Church, Second Baptist Church, a singer who sings with Wayne Presbyterian Church, and Mount Zion AME Church in Devon. And let me know if I've missed anybody in the choir.
Manoa Presbyterian Church.
Manoa Presbyterian Church. So we really try to reach out to as many organizations and churches and houses of worship as possible to broaden the Unity Choir. So that's, I think, a success, as you'll see when we come to the program. The way that we're going to proceed this morning is each person who is part of the program will come up and do their part. I will come up and introduce each person just to save some time so we can have much more focus on the content. So Beth Hassel will come up to give the welcome next, and then Iftikhar Hussain will give the opening prayer. Commissioner Bill Spingo will give the Pledge of Allegiance. Rabbi Lazar will give his offering that will relate to Rosh Hashanah. And then the dining services staff will direct us table by table to the buffet. After that, the choir will have 3 musical selections. Margaret Crow is going to give the 6 haiku, and then Bernie Dajane will introduce Patricia Coulter, and Gitti Etanad will give the closing prayer, and then we all will be singing together at the end, God Bless America. So I just want to say in advance, thank you very much to Villanova University and to the dining services staff, because they put all of this together for us and just make a fabulous breakfast. So I want to thank the dining service. And with that, we will proceed. Thank you very much.
Good morning, and welcome to Villanova University. Welcome to this community breakfast, which is to mark Undoing Racism Day, promoting unity while embracing the difference. Today, we, men and women of all faith traditions and ethnic and cultural backgrounds, gather in unity as brothers and sisters to share genuine hospitality and to grow in friendship and in understanding. In the words of St. Augustine, all kinds of things rejoiced in my soul in their company, to talk and to laugh, to do other kindnesses, to read pleasant books together, to pass from the lightest jesting to talk of deepest things and back again, to differ without rancor, to reach each other and to learn from each other. These were the things that kindled a flame that fused our very souls together and made us one out of many. Today, may we enjoy each other's company as we go in friendship and understanding. In the name of Villanova, welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Shalom, peace, and salam. Greetings of peace to all of you. I'll share with you what is called in the Muslim tradition the 7 oft-repeated verses. These are verses that Muslims use in their prayers many, many times a day. In the name of God, the infinitely compassionate, most merciful. All praise is God's, the sustainer of all worlds, the infinitely compassionate and most merciful. Sovereign of the day of reckoning, you alone do we worship, and you alone do we ask for help. Guide us on the straight path, the path of those who have received your favor, not the path of those who have caused your wrath, nor of those who have gone astray. Amen. Amen.
On behalf of the Radnor Township Commissioners, I'm proud to be here to celebrate our diversity and our oneness. And in that oneness, would you please stand and pledge allegiance to the United States of America? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good morning. I copied this right out of our prayer book. We use it for the High Holy Days, for the New Year. We also use it at every Sabbath service. Each of us enters this communal space with a different need. Some hearts are full of gratitude and joy. They are overflowing with the happiness of love and the joy of life. They are eager to confront the day, to make the world more fair. They are recovering from illness or have escaped misfortune, and we rejoice with them. Some hearts ache with sorrow. Disappointments weigh heavily upon them, and they have tasted despair. Families have been broken. Loved ones lie on a bed of pain. Death has taken those whom they cherished. May our presence and sympathy bring them comfort. Some hearts are embittered. They have sought answers in vain. Ideals are mocked and betrayed. Life has lost its meaning and value. May the knowledge that we too are searching restore their hope and give them courage to believe that not all is emptiness. Some spirits hunger. They long for friendship. They crave understanding. They yearn for warmth. May we, in our common need and striving, gain strength from one another as we share our joys, lighten each other's burdens, and pray for the welfare of our community.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are so happy to be here. We're looking forward to doing our medley of 3 songs that we consider appropriate for this occasion, but appropriate for any occasion, especially in our world today.
Oh,
Hi. 6 haiku for Maya Angelou, written by Sonia Sanchez, taken from her book Morning Haiku. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Sonia Sanchez is the first poet laureate of Philadelphia. You have taught us how to pray. Your poems, Yellow Tattoos on the Morning Dew, we dance in the eye of your pores. In a sudden pause of breath, secrets unlock. You show us how to arrange our worldly selves.
your poems, A Landscape of Seabirds. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bernie Dashner. I'm President and CEO of the Mainline Chamber of Commerce. And my honor today to introduce our keynote speaker. I want to tell you a little bit about her, my experiences with her. First, I want to say what a great program this is today. And when I think about the different sectors that are represented today, from religious, civic, educational, business organizations, this is an important opportunity for connection and dialogue. And I don't see anybody who put this together singing their own praises today, so let's join and sing their praises and thank everybody who organized this event today. Please join me in giving them. So this is a great, one of the things that's powerful about this is that this is a volunteer effort. I know many of you know the backstory. This used to be a government-funded breakfast, and people came together and made this happen. And all of you in the room who chose to be here today have made this happen as well. That's the power of this event this morning. People coming together, people saying, dialogue is important, conversation is important, understanding is important, and coming together to start that conversation. When I think about connection and dialogue on matters that tie to racial inclusion in this region, it doesn't take me long to think about Patricia Coulter of the Urban League of Philadelphia. Prior to taking my role as president of the Mainline Chamber of Commerce, I was editor of the Philadelphia Business Journal. One of my interactions with Pat and her board was that I was contacted by one of her board members. And they wanted to tell me that they didn't think the Philadelphia Business Journal had enough faces of color on our pages, that was something we needed to work on. We sat down, we had that conversation. And it was understanding. There's no purposeful exclusion taking place, but there was an understanding that occurred out of that conversation. We tried harder. We reached across, we met some new people, and we made sure that we did better moving forward. This is the type of thing that Pat and the Urban League of Philadelphia can do within this community. Another example, I think about the annual gala that the Urban League puts together. Usually on an evening in June, I try to go as many years as I can. And the reason I try to go is the power of that gala, where you see business community coming together with an organization that is really about change and about empowerment of African Americans and others throughout this community, to ensure that everyone does better, to try to make sure that many of us can have greater equality. And I think about that event, and this year it was a really powerful event. When you think about the people who came through, you have students, seniors in high school, from throughout the region, throughout the city, who received scholarship after scholarship that was named after either an individual or a company. And the message there was the community cared about these people. In many cases, these were young people whose families had not had college experiences prior to them. They were students going to college for the first time in their family, paving the way for perhaps younger brothers and sisters and their own children, reaching new heights of equality within our community. And one of the great things about all these scholarships that were awarded, they named after individuals, they were named after companies, and in addition to that, the individuals who were involved were pledging to follow these students through college, to be there as an ear, as a voice, as somebody who would respond when they want somebody to talk to, when they're having an issue getting through school and they want somebody to bounce things off of. What a powerful thing to have somebody in the business community I think of one woman in particular who is one of the board members for the Urban League, and she's got a very big job at Comcast. Think about having that woman on dial that you could call and say, I'm discouraged, I'm working my way through college and I need some help. It's a powerful thing, it makes a difference in the community. Another thing that the Urban League has done has an annual Empowerment Week, and as part of that Empower Week, and some of the work that the Urban League, or for that matter, the mainline chamber organizations throughout do, it's not always public, it's quiet. And this is a good example where the Urban League brings together CEOs, and they come. When Pat calls, people respond, CEOs respond, let me assure you. Bring the CEOs in the room together, where the conversation is, let's talk about the diversity in your C-suite. Let's talk about who's on your board of directors, and whether that's representative of the community you serve, your customers. And that's an important dialogue that would not occur without the Urban League and Pat's work and her board that supports her. These are powerful things that make a difference, I think, in the community. When I think about the work of the Urban League, one of the most powerful things is understanding. And when you go back a few years ago, there's a National Urban League movement. The National Urban League has a report that they put together called the State of Black America. And the Urban League in Philadelphia reproduced a local version of that report called the State of Black Philadelphia. And this was powerful information. Now, it tended to be a little more center city focused, but I'd like to point out that the city of Philadelphia has an impact on the entire region. And it is the biggest piece of our region. That's why we all in the suburbs here, I think, need to care passionately about the education of our school children. This new superintendent of schools, William R. Hyde, Jr. Thank you. Let's give him a thank you. 146,000 school students being educated in the city school district. And you see business leaders rising up to prop up Catholic schools to ensure that there are schools that will educate. If there's a good seat in the city of Philadelphia, how to retain that? And you see business leaders from throughout the region, including on the main line, very involved with that conversation, and that's important. And part of the reason that's important is if you look at that State of Black Philadelphia report that the Urban League put together a few years ago, 44% of the residents in the city of Philadelphia were African American. When you look at access to health care, when you look at crime statistics, incarceration, when you look at health, coming back to owning your own home, several economic measures, a large swath of our population in the city is not doing as well. And this is not an impact just on people of color, this is an impact on the entire community. And it's something that we all need to care about, we all need to be involved with. That's the conversation that Pat and her organization helped get started, to draw attention to this, and to ask the question, what could we be doing better? And I mentioned the school district of Philadelphia, and that's one essential thing. And there's always a question, is the good schools that we have here in the suburbs, are the things that the school district can learn, and there are issues that can be solved, mentorships, internships. These are powerful opportunities to make things better. So that brings us to Pat Coulter and the work that she's doing. If you read the Inquirer today, you see another conversation she started, and that there is a column on the op-ed page encouraging people to vote, to register to vote. With all this talk about voter ID legislation, she's saying, let's just get out there, let's make this happen. And pointing out that many people just simply aren't registered. Many people just haven't taken the time, haven't made a point of going. And not only does it matter in the presidential election, but we have commissioners in the room here from Radnor Township, certainly City Council in Philadelphia, state representatives. I saw Representative Greg Vitale here. I mean, there are local races, state races that have a huge impact on our lives, on our business community, and on us as a whole. And it's really important that we vote in those elections. So that's the point of Pat's column today. If you get a chance to go look at it, I hope you will. Pat was appointed President and Chief Executive Officer of the Urban League of Philadelphia in 2002. She became the first woman to lead the local affiliate of the National Urban League in the local affiliate's 90-year history. The mission of the Urban League is to empower African Americans and others in achievement of social and economic equality. She has led in both nonprofit and corporate sectors. She held senior positions with Sallison's Detson Group, a retained executive search firm right here in Radnor, and Lee Heck Harrison, a a global career management firm. I might add both are members in good standing of the Mainline Chamber of Commerce. And she also spent more than a decade with a fascinating organization called Inroads. Inroads is a not-for-profit that helps businesses gain greater access to diversity talent through leadership, development, and training of college students. With Inroads, Ms. Coulter managed and grew the startup of the Philadelphia office. What's interesting about Inroads, the point I want to make about that effort is when Pat and her board brings together CEOs from some of the larger corporations in the region, oftentimes you'll find when they're talking about diversity on the boards of directors, when you're talking about diversity in the senior management, a lot of these leaders don't have to be convinced, but they need help making it happen. Connections need to make the training, and that's what Inroads would do. Inroads would provide leadership training and also provide training to college students to help ensure that they were in a position to be able to move into leadership roles within companies. And Inroads grew under Pat Coulter's leadership in Philadelphia. It became one of the biggest organizations in the country within that. Her board affiliations include the Philadelphia Education Foundation, the Free Library of Philadelphia, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation Community Advisory Board, the Eagles Youth Partnership, and Thomas Jefferson University. She's been appointed by Mayor Michael Nutter to serve on the Mayor's Office of Community Services Commission and the Philadelphia Council for College and Career Success. Pat is really about education, really about access to education, making a difference in the community through education. It's an important part. Workforce development is something that the Urban League is working on with their Entrepreneurship Center as well. Her accolades include the Philadelphia Business Journal's Women of Distinction and Minority Business Leader Advocate, and Leadership Philadelphia's 100 Connectors. A little backstory I will tell you, when I was editor of the Business Journal, we talked about establishing this Minority Business Leaders Award program. And we thought about this category of minority business leader advocate. Being different, not just being a minority business leader, being someone who helps others rise. And when we started thinking about this, before we even as we were creating the whole award, I think I've told Pat this before, but if not, she's finding out right now. I thought of Pat. So we created this award. I can tell you the first person that should win it should be Pat Coulter. She's truly an important connector in our region. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Patricia Coulter.
Thank you so much, Bernie. It's been quite a day for me already. I'll tell you a bit about that. But Bernie is such a good friend and someone that I have admired for a long time. He and I have worked together in Philadelphia, and it's really great to meet someone who, sort of what I call gets it. And when they get it, there's this energy and this synergy that helps to move things forward. So he is one of those people, and I appreciate him being here this morning and introducing me. So as I'm on my way here today, one of the things about me is that I typically am not a real early morning person. So anytime I have to do something at 7:30 in the morning, I usually don't sleep good the night before because I'm always afraid I'm not going to wake up on time. And so this morning I set my clock, and then I set my phone actually, and I had two settings. One was at 5 and one was at 5:30, just in case I lay back down, I would get back up, so all of that. So I get up and I get dressed, and I'm on my way, and the rain is over, and I'm thinking, what a great day this is going to be. And I'm coming down Butler Pike, right at Flowertown Road, and I am rear-ended by a car. And so I was already stopped with my brakes, so I pushed harder on my brakes, hoping he would not push me into the car in front, but it did push me into the car in front. And so I have a little bitty car. It's a two-seater. And so it kind of pushed me under the SUV that was in front of me. But I am here, I am standing, I am good. I said to a dear friend of mine who saved me, came to get me and brought me here, I think what I called us, I'm supposed to make a speech, I'm trying to get to Villanova. So I hope people will come in and maybe have breakfast. But I always say when things like this happen and I'm able to stand up and keep going and I didn't feel any blood or, you know, any of that, that God is truly good. So I know that you really are supposed to be out of here at 9 o'clock, and I did time my speech last night, and it was about 13 minutes. So I'll try to cut it a little short, but I do, first of all, just want to thank the committee and the group who put this together, and I understand that you continue to put this together each and every year. I think it's just wonderful that we are here celebrating something called Undoing Racism Day. I think that's a marvelous thing to celebrate. And when I first heard that, Undoing Racism Day, the first thing that came to my mind was, well, shouldn't we be doing that every day? Right? And I know that the people in this room, with the efforts that you make, that you are doing just that. Undoing Racism Day does make me, though, ask the question about whether we're making meaningful progress toward equality, and whether or not making meaningful progress actually negates the continuing need for further progress. So I'm reminded of that old age question that says, are we there yet? Some of us, I think, as children, we grew up hearing stereotypical slants that sort of pushed various groups into negative pigeonholes. We heard things like blacks are lazy, Jewish store owners will cheat you, Irish are drunkards, Italians are gangsters, on and on and on. We absorb these kinds of myths when we're young children, and without other types of interventions as we grow, they can become part of our unconscious mind. These stereotypes become so ingrained because many times they're reinforced. They're reinforced through the media, through movies, through books, through all sorts of ways. Sometimes we don't even realize that the prejudices are there. There's a book that's called Marriage in Black and White, and it's actually a memoir by Barbara Douglas. Her story is one of a 50-year-old marriage to a black man. And she recalls one day walking down a dark street on her way home. She sees a group of young African-American men coming towards her on the sidewalk. Instinctively, she is frightened. Her stomach clenches in fear, and she keeps her head down, hoping to be able to pass them unnoticed and unharmed. Then as she gets closer, she sees that one of the young men is actually her son. He is with a bunch of his friends returning from a basketball game, and they're just hanging out on the corner. Barbara felt ashamed. She was ashamed that as the mother of a young black man, that she too would experience the fear of the other that permeates American life. When I was a young girl growing up in the South, racism was more what I call in your face. It was common during the Jim Crow era, the 1950s. I remember when blacks had to use separate drinking fountains, public restrooms, even for my first time going to the movies was sitting in the balcony. I also remember when you couldn't sit down at the lunch counter at Woolworths, which we did have in our little town in North Carolina. And you couldn't sit there and have a soda, but you could shop and spend your money. My first job out of college, I taught music in DeKalb County, Georgia, in a school where there were no black students and I was the only black teacher. Those were the tough times to be black in America. But many times I think back on that and say, but you know, you kind of knew where you stood, especially before the Civil Rights Act. Today, things are more complicated. When Barack Obama was elected President of the United States, some people claimed that we had entered the post-racial society. You all heard this, right? It was an exciting moment for the African American community that united us with the people of many ethnic backgrounds who swept Obama into the White House. In 2009, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, I refer to it as LDF, published a report entitled, Post-Racial America? Not Yet. Why the Fight for Voting Rights Continues After the Election of President Barack Obama. The report cautions us to resist the urge to embrace this oversimplified interpretation of the 2008 presidential election. Why? Because racial minorities in the United States continue to suffer from deplorable public schools, chronic unemployment, substandard housing and health care, intense residential segregation, and striking rates of over-incarceration. Discrimination has not been eliminated. It remains an integral component of complex and enduring social and political systems that promote racial inequality. One such system lies at the heart of our democracy, voting and elections. So I ask you today, does the fact that here in Pennsylvania and across this country, the fact that we're in a battle to defend the voting rights from these systems that want to limit and suppress the vote of those who are poor, elderly, disabled, and working class. It almost to me is like deja vu. Is it to any of you? I feel like, haven't we done this already? But we are back and we must strive and do it again. After 4 years after the election of the first African American president of the United States of America, we see that our society is not post-racial, that civil rights, or since the Civil Rights Act of 1964, racism has simply sort of gone more underground. Pay close attention as you hear coded language used to discuss race. In fact, I believe that there are those in America today who know it is not socially acceptable to admit that they don't like or have confidence in the president because he is black. So they say they dislike him because he is really a Muslim, or he isn't an American at all because he wasn't born here, on and on and on. But I ask you to think and listen to what you hear. I don't know about you, but every time I hear someone say, we want to take our country back, I say to myself, and maybe you say to yourself, back from home. What is the rest? What is the answer to that, or what is the rest of that sentence? And many of these old assumptions still apply, as Professor Skip Gates at Harvard found that he was locked out of his house, his own house, and was almost arrested for burglarizing his own house. So there are many things in our society today that I think actually play out from an unconscious perspective. Excuse me. There's a professor at the University of California, Berkeley, named Professor John Powell. I was going to talk a little bit about his work here, but I would encourage you, if you get a chance, to go onto YouTube and look up Professor John Powell. He has a number of little vignettes that talk about racism and talk about the unconscious aspects of racism, where we are maybe acting out on things that we don't realize that we are acting. That is Professor John Powell. But Susan Gleason, who is director of the Institute for Racial Reconciliation at the University of Mississippi, says that a lot of this is based on explicit bias, prejudices that people don't realize they have. And in the case of our president, Barack Obama, they have a fear of blacks that is embedded in our culture, much like that of the woman, Barbara Douglas, who was walking down the street and saw the young men. So how can we undo racism? Well, Barbara Douglas' story also provides an answer. Once she got closer and didn't see a mob of black men, she was able to see each man as an individual and realized that one of them was her own son. Once we know people, once we see people as friends, neighbors, co-workers, and not just groups of Caucasians, African Americans, Asians, Latinos, Jews, Christians, Muslims, we can move beyond racism, if not to friendship, at least to understanding. We can undo racism by having more gatherings like this one, where people from different ethnic and religious backgrounds can meet and realize that our commonalities are far greater than our differences. We can create dialogue groups to discuss those differences and, even better, learn to appreciate one another's differences. The National Urban League, now in its 102nd year, was founded out of the Great Migration as thousands of black Americans left the rural South for the big cities of the North. On September 29, 1910, 3 groups, the Committee of Urban Conditions Among Negroes, the National League for the Protection of Colored Women, and the Committee for Improving the Industrial Conditions of Negroes in New York City, all merged to form a new organization which was called the National League on Urban Conditions Among Negroes, which was later shortened to the National Urban League. So today, under the national leadership of Mark H. Morial, the Urban League is more committed than ever to addressing the issues and challenges that face our urban centers. Through innovative programmatic initiatives and advocacy grounded in sound research, our signature programs are preparing America's workforce for the changing economy, providing housing and financial literacy counseling, foreclosure prevention, conducting youth to prepare them for college and career, as well as providing coaching to small businesses to help them grow their revenues and create jobs. Our approach here in Philadelphia at the Urban League of Philadelphia is to be a connector between community, business, civic, and the legislative sectors. We call our strategic direction Connect 360 because we are trying to really be a bridge to bring all of these various segments together. A few initiatives underway right now that fit to what we're talking about this morning are the Black-Jewish Dialogue Talks that we are involved in with young professionals. They gather every month with a professional facilitator to speak openly about race and explore their differences and their commonalities. Those conversations enable them to create positive bonds that are devoid of stereotypes. We also hold an annual CEO symposium that examines the lack of diversity in the corporate executive suites. The panel discussions are restricted to executives, allowing them to speak candidly about their companies and the issues that keep minorities from serving on corporate boards and in the C-suites. This symposium, which we had envisioned as a one-time event, has now been repeated 4 times by popular demand. These executives welcome the opportunity to have a high-level dialogue about diversity and inclusion. The motto at the Urban League movement these days is something called I am empowered. And being empowered is really the most effective antidote to racism. When we are empowered, we are confident enough to look at people as individuals and not as stereotypes. When we are empowered, we can engage in dialogue with people who are different and dispel the prejudices that we both hold. When we are empowered, we use our voice to speak out against injustice, against unfair practices, against inequality in American life. When we are empowered, we make a personal decision to do what each and every one of us can do to make sure that more people on November 6th get to the polls with the proper ID that is needed to vote. Former Secretary, we all must do that. We all must do that. Former Secretary of State Colin Powell, who also rejected the idea that President Obama's election signaled the beginning of post-racial America, says that with each passing year, with each passing generation, with each passing figure, we move closer and closer to what America can be. But, he added, there are still a lot of black kids who don't see that dream there for them. So the pain of discrimination is still felt in America. So I close with you today as we go about the business of undoing racism. I want us to be empowered. I want all of us to be able to say, I am empowered. I want each of you, when you leave here today, to go to NUL, which is National Urban League.org, O-R-G, and join our community. What you will find there are 4 aspirational goals that the Urban League has set to achieve by the year 2025. And we need the entire nation to join us in order for those goals to be realized. So your action item, because being empowered means that you have to do something, right? So your to-do is to go to NUL.org and join our community. Sign up there. Our goals are to make sure that all American children are prepared for college and career, that all Americans have access to good jobs with good benefits, that all Americans have affordable and decent housing, and that all Americans have access to health care. That is the aspiration. We need each and every one of you to help us move that forward in America. So normally when I talk about being empowered, I usually say, and I think today I'm wearing my button that says, I am empowered. And I say to all of our clients and people who come through our programs that I want you to be empowered. But being empowered is something you have to feel and something you have to do. So to end this, I want to see if you are empowered this morning. So I want you to repeat after me. I am empowered. All right, now it will feel a lot better if you can stand up. It'll feel a lot better. So let's all stand up. All right. Are you ready? I am empowered. Doesn't that feel good? All right. So now let's empower our families and let's go out and empower this nation. Thank you so much.
Before the closing prayer, we are going to have a very short presentation.
office, second time by practice.
Good morning. This event couldn't be possible with the hard work, without the hard work of two people. Nikki Palm gave me a note to read about the person that I'm making my presentation to. And I guess she knew I needed a note because I could go on and on and on. And we do have time constraint. This committee would like to take the opportunity to thank Carolyn Nance for her support, her leadership of the Unity Choir. Carolyn has endless energy and generosity with the choir. You didn't know that we knew that you used your own money to make this a success. And Carolyn, these are for you. Appreciation for your help in making today another great Unity breakfast. Thank you so much.
Well, it's been quite a journey getting these flowers here this morning. Spilled the water, broken the vase, and as you just saw, spilled the water again. Yes, it is. The committee would also like to thank the leader of our Unity Committee, Ann Minicozy. She has guided our volunteer committee with a tireless sense of commitment over the last 10 months to make this a success that it was this morning. Anne is the glue that holds these volunteers all together. Minutes are written of each meeting and emailed before you can blink an eye. I think her feeling is, it's great when a plan comes together, like it did this morning. And these are for you and our sincere appreciation for all that you do. Okay, I'll let Amy get the flowers this time.
The closing prayer is from Baha'i scripture. O thou kind Lord, thou hast created all humanity from the same stock. Thou hast decreed that all shall belong to the same household. In thy holy presence, they are all thy servants, and all mankind are sheltered beneath thy tabernacle. All have gathered together at the table of thy bounty. All are illumined through the light of thy providence. O God, thou art kind to all. Thou hast provided for all, dost shelter all, conferred life upon all. Thou hast endowed each and all with talents and faculties, and all are submerged in the ocean of thy mercy. O thou kind Lord, unite all. Let the religions agree, make the nations one, so that they may each seek other as one family, and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind. O God, establish the most great peace. Cement thou, O God, the hearts together. O thou kind Father, God, gladden our hearts through the fragrances of thy love. Brighten our eyes through the light of thy guidance. Delight our ears with the melody of thy word. And shelter us all in the stronghold of thy providence. Thou art the mighty, the powerful. Thou art the forgiving, and thou art the one who overlooketh the shortcoming of all mankind.
We will now have God Bless America, and we're going to ask that you would all stand and lead. This is the audience, led by Sister Vance of the Unity Choir, so we need you to help us out, and we want you, if you do not know the words, they're in the front of your bulletin. Or I should say program, I just went to church. Your program.